Welcome, everybody, to That's Good Pasta, our podcast about creepypastas. With me, as always, is my producer, my tech boy, the scamp of scamp of That's Good Stuff, and his name would be
Jared.
Jared. Sorry about being absent and Luna, of course. Sorry about being absent last time. I was trucking across the country, literally driving a box truck, which wasn't fun.
Man, truck
Um,
you.
yeah, truck you too. Um, so today, and thank you, Jared, for having a really cool read, by the way. Really good little substitute for our normal summary podcast that we do. And thank you, everybody, to the massive amount of views that we got for our In Praise of Shadow videos. And thanks to all the new subscribers. We're almost there, guys. It's close.
Thank you, and Praise of
You guys
Shadows, for messing up so hard. And
for you just and giving us the revenue. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks everybody that also commented on our videos. We really appreciate that. So yeah, today everybody we have a kind of a big one, and I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be a little hard because we're gonna summarize Borrasca parts 1 through 4, which is kind of a it's kind of a big one in the creepypasta world because it's not exactly a creepy pasta. It's more of a tale of modern horror, I guess would be a good way to say it. What would you say, Jared?
it's just a good story. I found out that the lady who wrote it went on to help Mike Flanagan with
That musician?
some of his projects, Haunting on Hill House, I think. So
Mm-hmm. It's kind of
shows
crazy to
that
think about.
if you have a good idea, that someone will watch it, and you might be able to do something even bigger.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So yeah, we're gonna try to summarize parts 1 through 4 as best we can. I recommend you watch uh, Mr. Creepypasta's video of Borrasca. He's got parts 1 through 4 and the massive one 5. We're gonna try to do that one a little later down the road. And there's a few other people that do a few readings. None come to the top of my head, but there's been a few
The
people that have done.
Papas.
Oh yeah, the Papa Meat and Wendigoon have also done a video on Borrasca parts 1 through 5. So they
Their
have a really good
their coverage on
breakdown of
Kyle,
those.
the character Kyle, is especially good.
We'll get to Kyle. We'll get to Kyle. So starts off the first part of Borrasca is this young kid, about 9 years old, named Sam Walker, and him and his family, his mom, dad, and older sister Whitney, all moved to Drisking. Not sure where exactly it is. I think it's in the Ozarks, if I'm not mistaken. It's up in the hills, mountainous country. It used to be a mine town, and his dad's a sheriff's deputy there, and not quite sure what happened with Sam's dad at his last job. There's something happened. Whitney says she blames his dad because it was all his fault.
Oh yeah,
Not quite sure what happened.
He just transferred to this
Transferred.
new place, right?
Yeah. So not quite sure what happened to bring them to here, but it seems like it's a good fit for Sam. He meets these two kids, Kyle and Kimber, and they really get along together. They start spending more and more time during the summer, and they're just go ahead.
This Kimber is nice. Probably a good friend of Sam. Have you ever met a nice Kimber? Because I haven't. They're always kind of.
No, I haven't. I haven't at all. The first Kimber I've ever met was a Kimber Lee, and she was on the Power Rangers, and she broke my heart. But it's fine.
That doesn't count.
Shut up. So they bond kind of like in a Stephen King Stand By Me kind of way, just living out the summer. They all really get along really easily. I did like the description is like the due to with the simplicity of our age, we got along really well, and I remember that a lot.
Do you have Play Game Station 2?
You have Game Station. Do you have Tekken 4? I did like that because most of the people I've met, including most of the people on this podcast, by the way, we met just randomly, and like when we were like 9, 10 years old, and we've been friends ever since. I remember the first time I met Michael was at his house for it's like a homeschool class of some kind, and we instantly, and he asked if I could spend the night. So Very
I remember
very true to life.
we moved here, and my mom's like, "Get ready, we're gonna go meet some people," and I was like, "I don't wanna." And then went to this house, and there's a basement full of children, and I was like, "Oh God!" And they're all playing Smash, and I was like, "Can't be too bad."
Weirdly enough, you met another orange-haired kid, Michael.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then the
Also,
next day, he was like, "You want to spend the night?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure."
he was very interested in everybody spending the night. So there's also something with some facial feature and Kyle that are kind of similar. They have, or Kimber has orange hair. Kyle has like a reddish hair, not super bright, but it is like it has definitely a red tint to it. Um, and Sam also notices that a lot of the kids around town also kind of have this. Is it yellow eyes? I believe, and a vague reddish tint to their hair. So that's just something he kind of picks up on. But during the summer, Kyle and Kimber ask Sam, like, "Hey, we're gonna take you to the Triple Tree," and Sam's like, "Well, treehouse, man, it's a treehouse." So they have to borrow a knife from Kyle's mom and have to take Parker, Kyle's brother, who doesn't really look like Kyle. He's got darker features and different colored eyes. Just doesn't really quite look like his brother, really. And uh, they go to what's called the Triple Tree. It's a big tree house. I think it says like had like 4 rooms, right?
Yeah.
And they go to the tree house, and Sam immediately tries to basically like walk in there, and Kyle and Kim are like, "Whoa, you can't." Um, sorry, you can't go in there, man. You have to do the ceremony first. And Kyle, Sam's like, "Is it a blood ceremony?" And I was like, "No, no, 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 man. You just gotta carve. You gotta say the thing, and then uh, you gotta carve your name into the tree. That way, the is it the skin men, right? Don't
Yeah.
come and get you." And he's like, "What's the skin men?" And they're like, "Just don't worry about it, man." And then Parker goes like, "Borrasca," and he's like, "What's Borrasca?" He's like, "Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it.
So
Just say the thing, carve your name into the tree, and you'll be fine. Otherwise, you disappear." And he's like,
do I have to
"Well,
sacrifice this guy? No,
yeah,
man.
that's a
You
kid.
just gotta write your initials on the tree. Oh, well, yeah.
My bad." And so Sam carves his name or Samuel or Sam W. And then he says the words, "Underneath the triple tree, there's a man who waits for me. Should I go or should I stay? My fate's the same either way." And so now that he said the words, he's allowed up into the treehouse, and it's a huge treehouse. Like I said, like 4 rooms. And Kyle's like, "Hey, guess what, man? I know that was it Paul? Who's the kid that left the stash there?" Um. Anyway, he Kyle lifts these boards up into some warm beer, and Kyle,
The
and like
best.
Sam's like, "Hell yeah!" And Kimber's like, "No, that's disgusting." Which, yes, Kimber, warm beer, disgusting.
Kimber's
Uh,
like, is that Michelob Ultra? Never mind.
is that
I have taste.
Nope. I'm about to say I'm not gonna say anything. Um, no, Modelo Black. That thing's trash.
How dare you?
Yeah, I will dare, sir.
Such an
So
unoffensive beer.
it's terrible, Jared. Absolutely terrible. So, uh, school starts afterwards, and oh, I'm sorry, my bad. While they're up in the treehouse, they they hear this metallic, like grinding sound coming up from the mountain, and Sam's like, "What the hell is that?" And the other 3 kids kind of go quiet, and Kimber goes like, "It's like that's Borrasca." And I think it's Parker that says the shiny gentleman, right? Is that will come get you?
Yeah.
And
Kyle is
so
like weirdly like holding things from
he,
Sam.
he's he def Kyle definitely tries to protect Sam, I think, from things, especially like all the weird stuff going on. But even Kyle doesn't know quite what's happening.
Kyle's like, don't tell him that. And Kimber's like, it's this. And he's like, oh, dang
Yeah,
it.
dang it. Um, but they also talk about what happened up into the mountains, why nobody goes up there anymore. Apparently, it was a mining town a long time ago, and the Prescotts, who own basically the whole town, try to revigorate the town, but they try to redo the mines, but they collapse the mines by accident, and apparently a lot of the metal ore got into the water table and caused a lot of problems. Even Kyle, or sorry, even Sam's like, "Did they use C4?" Kyle's like, "I don't know. Explosions, man. Like, why are you so particular about
I like
things?"
when Sam's like, "Oh, does he own or Kyle's like, he owns the town. They're the Prescotts." And he's like, "Does he own the deli? Yeah. And does he own the GameStop? I don't know. Yeah, probably.
I guess maybe. What is with you?
Calm down."
So they start, the school year, and it goes pretty good. Uh, uh, Sam's older sister, Whitney, is not adjusting the greatest.
She's
She has a
like hardcore teenager right now.
yeah, she's got a boyfriend, a pretty serious boyfriend back in Seattle that she was really serious
They
about.
held hands one time.
They did. Oh my God,
They're in love.
They're going.
She loves
They're
him.
going. They're going steady,
How
Jared.
dare you take me away from whatever his name was? How dare you?
But also, apparently, what's his name? Or what's her name? Whitney's also apparently dating another guy in town that he learns through uh, osmosis through like the other kids. Like, oh, it's like your sister's dating a Whitaker. She's gonna be Whitney Whitaker. He's Sam's like, shut up.
I guess the love wasn't that deep for that dude in Seattle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, about to say. But they're also during this class, Sam meets a bunch of the other kids, and again, he sees some of the facial features and hair are very similar. He's like, oh, that's kind of weird. But, it's the town's been around for generations, so I'm guessing some people intermarried. He's like, oh, whatever. And he also meets these girls that try to bully Kimber, and that doesn't go well because he's like, I like Kimber. Maybe a little too, or maybe a little,
Maybe some of that I
But
her.
I
Not
like
just
like her.
like her.
One of my favorites is like it's like the mean girls are trying to bully Kimber. It's like, if you are friends with Kimber, you'll be part of the ugly club, and you're not going to be allowed to be around us. And then Sam just comes back with like the best comebacks, like better than the bitch club. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
damn, Sam's spitting bars here.
that one kid from that one gif is like, oh.
But I like Sam. Sam's pretty cool. Uh, so that kind of, just so things progress a little bit. And then one day, Sam comes back home and he there are like police cars there, and he's like, "What's going on? What's going on? Is something happening? What's going on?" Turns out that Whitney has gone missing, sort of.
She wanted to go to some party with her friend, and
Yeah.
even her friend's like, "Oh, she should just keep her here. She shouldn't come along." But she was like, "I want to be part of the cool crowd because I ain't no ugly
Square.
crowd." Yeah.
But yeah, he comes home and apparently it's presumed that Whitney has run off back to Seattle. I'm not even sure how old she is. I think she's like 17, is what they say.
16?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But basically, like, if she wants to make a decision like that, she can, is what they presume. Sam, however, is not buying it. He's like, that's not right. She was adapting here. She apparently was dating this other guy. She was making friends.
The shiny men have her. We gotta go look.
Yeah.
We gotta get her.
So Sam and he meets Kimber and look at the triple tree, and apparently carved.
He's basically like, "Dad, be a cop. Go find her.
Yeah.
Do your job."
You should do your job. That's what I'm trying to say. You should do your job because it's your job. Because you're the person standing there doing that thing. So just do it.
Weirdly enough, the dad is very
Calm.
he's very calm about everything, and so Sam's very befuddled. He doesn't know what's going on.
Well,
But
Aren't cops usually like it's like 48 hours before it's a missing person?
before you have to say missing, yeah. But he also learns that, or Sam had learned uh, a little while back that people have been known to go missing, mostly only like
Young women.
young teenage women. Almost everybody, pretty much all of these have been out of town, and so people don't really know who they are really, so they just go missing. And Sam has a really bad feeling, so him, Kimber, and Kyle go to the Triple Tree, and he double checks to see if her name's scratched into uh, the Triple Tree, and apparently on there was Whitney W. It says, "My breath froze in my chest, and my vision blurred with unwelcome tears, and as the sun took desperate breath before plunging into the deep of the horizon, a deafening metallic whirl sang out from the wilderness and spilled down the mountainside." So the shiny gentleman apparently was eating that night.
Oh
So
my
something
God.
happened.
Also, side note, I've always been a southwestern kid, so we don't have these trees that can hold like a tree house with four rooms. We have a cactus that maybe hurts you.
Yes.
So
I mean,
I'm always jealous of these kids. They're like, "Oh, we had a tree house with rooms." So it's like, what?
I mean, honestly, as a West Texan here, we have like basically the same thing. All we have is brush. We do have tumbleweeds that are the size of cars. That's, basically a tree, but you can't build anything in there. It can hurt you if it hits you, but that's about it.
Ruin the
yes.
undercarriage, but
Yeah, I've always been like fascinated by forests and stuff and people who like live in them. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I get too claustrophobic in here. This is weird.
it's like
So,
being
Jared-
it's like when you're like a southwestern kid and you go into the forest, you're like, you can hear the predator going, and you're just like,
Yeah.
What is it? Billy. What the hell is wrong with you? There's something in those trees.
It's like adaptive camouflage. So Jared, what did you think of this first chapter?
I think it builds up these three pretty well. It really gets across like they're becoming friends. It really gets that new kid and into the new town kind of feel of like, oh man, you don't want to move from what you've known and like your friends, but then you meet this one or two friends and you're like, oh, okay, it's not too bad. These guys are kind of cool. So I think it gets that across pretty well. I like everyone except Whitney. Whitney's kind of a teenager, and you're just like, man, shut up.
You're just such a typical teenager, Whitney. But yeah, no, I like this one. I think the dialogue's actually pretty good. Seems very believable for kids to say certain things. Now, granted, there is some cringiness at some points where like, oh, did you have a Game Station 3? I'm just like, oh Lord. Okay, well, whatever. I mean, I understand why, copyright, all that kind of crap, but it's very believable that these kids become friends like this. Because again, like most of my friends when I was this age, we literally like just met one day, and okay, cool, we're friends now. That's it. That's how you make friends.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, but yeah, no, it's very good world building. Oh, I forgot to mention in the story during their first day of school, they had the presentation by Jimmy Prescott, the guy that owns the town, and Kimber's like, "Oh, is his dad not giving it? Was it Tim Prescott? Yeah." It's like, "No, man, he went crazy." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And Kimber and Kyle really don't like Jimmy. He's like,
Yeah.
not really digging this guy.
I like this first part. You can see a lot of the seeds that it's sowing for later. There's a lot of little subplots going on.
The more you've gone over the story, the more things kind of scream at you during the first few chapters. And like going back to this, I was like, oh God. But yeah, so that's the first part. Now the second part takes place about 7 years later. Sam is, I think, 15 now, 15, 16.
Now they're the teenager brats.
Yeah, now they're teenagers. Sam's working at a sandwich shop, and it's owned by Jimmy Prescott, and it's run by this girl named Mira. The sandwich shop is like not doing good at all, apparently.
It's like one
But
person goes in a day.
a day, and like it's more normally Jimmy Prescott just coming in to get his creepy sandwich, apparently. Um, but
Do they
even
say the
like
sandwich?
yeah, it's like turkey on rye with avocado. I'm just like, oh my god.
What a jerk.
I know, right? It's like Prescott artisan sandwiches, I think, something like that, something douchebaggy. But so he's just, he's trying to work up some money. He's got a car now. So Mira's like, hey, you can, go home for the day. There's nobody here. So he goes to the lake, meets up with Kyle and Kimber. Apparently, they'd start dating about like a few months back. Uh, Sam likes it, but he's also like, oh god, now they're insufferable. Like any of our friends who are dating. But anyway,
He's
So-
cool. He's cool with it, but he's also like, man, there's that little riff.
oh, I'm sorry, Tom Prescott. Tom Prescott is the guy's name. The dad. Sorry. So we also learned that Sam has never really gotten over Whitney's disappearance. Kind of blames his dad for that. And his dad has also become the sheriff of Driskin in this time jump, taking over. I believe Sheriff Cleary was the
Leveled
former
up kind
sheriff.
of fast. Got those.
Yeah, it's kind
promotions.
of suspicious in a way. Really, yeah, kind of sus, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. Kind of goes through that.
And then,
but-
I don't think we touched on it, but Kimber's mom has been going through stuff.
Yes, Kimber's mom has been going through a very serious depression. She was always kind of depressed when Kimber was younger. Didn't really like him or her hang out with Kyle. And since they started dating, basically her mom just despises Kyle. Won't even let him in the house. Won't let him on the property. Like at one point, Sam drops Kyle off to go hang out at Kimber's house, and then he's like, "Hey man, you can come pick me up," and drives back around. And Kyle has to sit on the curb because he's not allowed, literally on the property. But so I mean, life is going through again. Sam apparently is a pothead now too with Kyle, which I always thought was funny. He's like, "Oh, you want to smoke a bowl, bruh?"
Dude.
What a Kyle move.
I know. So he goes back
get
to
my
work-
hit before the sandwich shop, before my shift.
well, speaking of the sandwich shop, Sam goes back to work one day, and Mira is basically just. I mean, she is breaking down. Like she cannot stop crying. She can't, she is not doing well. And honestly, the reaction of Sam is kind of normal because Mira's like in her early 30s, and like this 15-year-old like walks in and she's like basically having a panic attack. He's just like, okay, cool. So he calls her husband. She comes down, and apparently he kind of has a bit of a freak out because Mira is the last of the line of the McCaseys, I believe is what they're called. And Sam's like, who are the McCaseys? He's like, oh, it's an older family of Driskin or Driscoll, or is it Driskin? Sorry, Driskin. Her family and the Prescotts, they go way back, that kind of stuff. And also apparently the McCaseys were also some of the people to die in the mines because of the explosion.
I want you to shut the up, woman! I was down in the bloody mines for 14 hours today!
So her family definitely has some history, but she's the last of them. And the reason that's a big deal is because she's the only child, and her and her husband are having some very, very big problems conceiving, and they've been trying for years, and they just can't get it to work. Doesn't know what's going on, and that's probably what's going through Mira's head. And also the sandwich shop is like not doing well. Jimmy Prescott comes in. He assures her that, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of it because he's funding the shop. But if you're not succeeding in your line of work, it kind of puts pressure on you to succeed. So anyway, she is having a bit of a breakdown, but her husband goes back there and what do you call it? She comes out and she was like, hey, I've made my decision. I want to do it. And she's like, wow, okay. Or sorry, the husband is like reacting like, wow, okay. And Sam doesn't know what's going on. He's like, okay, I'm gonna head out. And the husband and wife go like, yeah, it just we'll close up. Don't worry about it. So Sam heads out and goes to Kimber and Kyle like, I that was weird, man. I don't know what's going on, but that was odd.
I just wanted to make sandwiches. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. um, I'm really trying to remember this last part. This part is where I get a little uh hazy. Now I remember that they're trying to basically go over the McCaseys and the Skinmen of why they have such a uh, what do you call it, a backstory to the town of Driskin, and they're also kind of curious on why.
Don't they go to the library?
Yeah, they go to a library to try to look up some stuff, and they also are asking about. Oh, it's Tom Prescott, by the way, not Tim. My bad. They're like, well, Tom Prescott used to know some about this stuff, but I mean, he's apparently in a what do you call it? What do you call it?
Assisted living?
Yeah, sorry, old folks home. Sorry, assisted living home. Don't mean to be on PC. My bad. So yeah,
The old fogey house where they keep all the old people, according to Thomas.
It's just me. It's just me in the future, man. I'm sorry. So they also kind of figure out that Tom Prescott is staying in this assisted living center. They're like, it's only like 20 minutes down the road. I'm gonna see if we can go ask this because this is kind of weird. So they get to the assisted living center. I want to call it old folks home. I'm sorry. Every time. And they meet Tom Prescott, who apparently is a bit not there anymore. He's kind of rambling. He's like, I built this town. I'm the one that did this. I'm the one that did this.
Back to formula?
Yeah. Basically acting like Osborne. And he keeps mentioning like a powder and basically they're like, they're trying to figure out why the triple tree is called the triple tree, and he's like, triple. Who's like, why are they paying triple the price? What's going on? And he's basically freaking out. He's like, I'm the one that did this, not Cleary. It was mine. Like those were mine. The Cleary had his, but I had mine as well. And they're like, whoa, what the hell is going on?
Typical old people talk.
Yeah, just a normal day at an old folks home. Not going to apologize. So they get back and basically they go back to Driskin after that kind of like random encounter with Tom, and Kimber gets a phone call, and apparently something has happened to her mom at the hospital. Now, let's see if I can find the thing here. Oh, here he goes. So he, sorry. Sam asks his dad, like, what happened? Like, what's going on? And his
What'd
dad
you mess
tells
up
him,
this time, Dad?
So they sat down. Oh, sorry. So he quietly explained that Mrs. DeStaro, who's Kim's mom, had gone grocery shopping around 1 o'clock, come home, put the groceries away, made 2 lasagnas and a meatloaf. That's a lot of
Good
baking, by the way.
Lord, that's a lot of food.
I know. That's a lot of food. That's
Feed
a
the
long time,
town.
by the way.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a long time for those. Put them in the freezer. Then she got in her car, drove to the hospital, parked in the shade.
The dog walked itself home, ate a pizza, and took a nap.
Took the stairs up 7 floors to the roof, and jumped off. She lived long enough to apologize to the EMT who found her. And I watched Kimber fall apart as her mother's body slowly grew cold in the morgue floor beneath us. So, yeah. So that ends with a very heavy note. Again, this is kind of the second time this has happened where tragedy has struck. So, Jared, what do you think about Chapter 2?
Chapter 2, you get a lot of like conspiracy with the town and like the Prescotts, and this is kind of like the whole like what's going on with this town, what's going on with these people, all the questions. I like it.
Do you like the
I
time
don't.
jump?
Yeah. I like how like Sam and Kyle are little,
Little
little
potheads.
punks. Yeah, little punks now. Um, what do you think about this chapter?
I actually really like this chapter. Now, it's okay. I apologize for not summarizing very well. This is a very long story, and I'm definitely skipping
Dense,
around.
dense.
I, yeah, I 100% endorse that you go listen to this or go read it. It's on um, CK Walker's website, ckwalker.com. We'll have the link in the description. Um, oh, come on, please.
They're famous enough.
I definitely recommend you go read it. But yeah, I really like the world building that they do, and the fact that Sam has never really accepted like what's going on, but he's trying to live his life. He's trying to be a kid. You know, he's only 15, and we were 15 once. I'm sorry, 16. They drive around. Um, but this is like small details I really like. I like that Kyle bought a car, but apparently like completely the tires are completely shot. She's like, I got a car. It's like, you don't have a car. You have a thing with no wheels. He bought it. He bought it to impress Kimber, but he like denies that. He's like, yeah, whatever, dude.
Do you picture
But
Kyle
also
as Jackson back in the day,
a little, yeah, just the,
listening to his Limp Biscuit in his car?
yeah, give it away, give it away. Yeah, no, just yeah, I really like. I really like the world building that they do around this, and the fact that everybody seems like they're hiding something. Every adult
Yeah.
seems like they're keeping something back. I especially love the breakdown scene with the manager, Kyle's boss. Or sorry, I keep saying Kyle, Sam's boss. I like that. Like something is going on here. Something dealing with Borrasca and the shiny gentleman and the skin men.
I
Like
like how there's a 30-year-old man talking to a kid. Like, man, we can't have kids. We're
yeah,
having trouble.
the husband has like a midlife crisis in front of the front of
Sam's
his
like,
kid.
I don't know what you're talking about or how to deal with this.
So in going into chapter 3. Now, chapter 3 is basically uh Sam and Kimber trying to I'm sorry, Kyle and Sam trying to comfort Kimber after her mom, jumped off the roof. Um now
Probably from all
Kimber
that
was
food she had to make. 2
that was a lot of
lasagnas and a
food.
meatloaf? Jesus.
And a meal and plus groceries, Jared. Plus groceries. At least you consider it. So Kimber's father tells Kimber, like while he was like basically inconsolable, that her mom had left um, and a
Look!
Hey, a note!
Yeah, but turn it over. There's a letter.
You're right.
And I got this message from my parents.
what do you call it? A letter for Kimber. But when Kimber asked the coroner and all the policemen, they're like, there was no note. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm sorry. Like, there was nothing. We don't have anything for you. But Kimber's like, no, my dad definitely told me something. So she goes back to try to question her dad, and her dad is like, no, I don't remember what you're talking about. Leave me alone. Her dad has become pretty much inconsolable. Like, will just sleep in the den. Won't talk to his kid. Nothing. Like, he's completely backed out. So during all this, Kimber is pretty sure that she has seen her father read a letter in his study that wasn't like in the norm. So she's like, okay, something's definitely up. I need to see if I can read this letter without him knowing. We're doing the funeral for my mom. So what I plan to do is have a quote unquote breakdown in the bathroom, sneak out. One of you guys distracts my dad, and I'll go read the letter and come back. So things go pretty much according to plan, but unfortunately, one of them can't leave with Kimber because they're both trapped at the funeral. So Kimber takes Sam's car and goes to the house. She says, "All right, I'm going in. I'll let you know what I find." Yeah. So basically, they're stuck at the funeral, and Kimber's dad is having basically a breakdown. The police are there. The former sheriff Cleary's there. He's like, "Hey, you need to, stop this, stop,"
Stop it. Get some help.
and is basically strong arming Kimber's dad into being quiet. And Kyle and Sam are watching this, like, this is like freaking weird. Like, what is going on? Also, nobody really showed up except for the police, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So it's also just an odd setting for the funeral. Sam and Sam and Kyle are like, okay, they're kind of wondering where you're at, like what's going on. Kimber's not answering the phone, not answering texts, nothing. And then the police start to get a little suspicious why Kimber's not there. And then Sam overhears that they're sending somebody over to the house to check on her because they think she's over there. And then Sam texts her like, "They're coming. Get out now."
Run!
And so they end up going to the house. Sam and Kyle can't stop them, but they can't go over there because then they'll be suspicious. So they're kind of just, hanging out.
Eating
A
that
while-
lasagna and meatloaf. They're like, oh man,
Yeah.
this is pretty good.
Oh, this is pretty good. That's why the police went over there. They were hungry. We both did the same thing. A little while later, they learned that Kimber and her dad have decided to move to, I forgot where they'd moved to. Basically moved out of town without telling anybody, without telling like Sam, without telling Kyle. They're just gone. Don't know what happened to them. And like Sam is basically
Oh, is this where Sam's
Pretty-
like, she wouldn't have moved just out of
Yeah,
the blue, no talking.
just out of the blue. So they're freaking out. Like they have no idea. Sam goes up to his dad, like, "Hey, where's Kimber?" And he's like, "Dude, Sam, I'm telling you the truth. I don't know anything about it." And he's like, "You're lying. I know you're lying. You lied
ruined
about
everything. You're stupid.
You're stupid head." I was like, "You're lying about this. You were lying about Whitney all those years ago. Like I've never fully trusted you since this." And like his dad kind of like, I thought he was gonna like hit him or something. But basically it's like, "Shut up. I don't care what you have to say. This is my word, and I'm sticking to it." So Kyle and Sam kind of go rogue and decide to try to look and see if they can find Borrasca, whatever it's called, or sorry, whatever it is, because they don't know nobody in the town knows what Borrasca is. They just have this vague hint of something up in the woods.
They're interrogating kids. They're like, where is he?
Where is he? So they just keep looking and looking, and eventually, unfortunately, they hear something. So I'm going to read this part. It's like, "We hiked miles and miles of the mountain that day, but we didn't find any sign of human life. And for the next few days, if the sun was out, so were we. Kyle was growing more and more desperate, crossing into private property to look for logging equipment, mapping out the mapping out the county's many mines to search for the abandoned buildings. But the mountain was big and the needle buried deep in the haystack. And as the days slipped by, so did Kyle's sanity.
He was
Every
smoking,
time
like,
I saw-
4 bowls a day, he was like, just toking up, man. Just,
Kyle and Sam were just like smoking like packs. So he goes like, "Gotta find her." Every time I saw my dad, he would give me a sober look and promise me that they were still looking. It seemed to me like he was growing concerned. The Destara house remained as cold and empty as the space between the stars above it. Little cheesy there.
that's a little much.
Yeah, a little much. On the 11th day of our Kimberless existence, I was awoken out of a troubled sleep by the
Kimberless
piercing...
existence.
Right. Kinda cringe.
Like all of us, Jared. I was woken out of a troubled sleep by the piercing, whirling, screeching sound of death at Borrasca. I cried myself back to sleep to the tortured sound of Kyle's agonies next door. We had failed her. Kimber was dead. All right. So that's part 3, Jared. What did you think of that?
I liked it. Stuff was ramping up. That whole funeral scene is pretty intense. Yeah, the building of the tension in this chapter was really good. You're wondering even more like what's going on. What aren't they telling these kids? And you just want to know everything that's going on.
I like the uh, I like basically the mafia style beatdown that Kimber's dad gets from the cops, basically like, trying to cover something up. Um, they knew they knew something was going on, um, but they never let it go, or they never let it out of what was happening. So something was definitely up. But yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Sam and Kyle are pushed to the edge and have to take matters into their own hands.
Let's say
Smoking
they're about
bowls,
to
punching
cross
kids.
the line. They've crossed the line, Jared, and they can't go back. So that ends part 3. Now we have the next section is part 4, which is
The final
so when this
part,
originally
right?
came out, huh?
This is the final part, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So when it originally came out, it was these first 4 sections, and it's kind of like left there for I think like 2 years or something like that. So this was a big like when it happened. I remember it happening like pretty hardcore. Um, so I'm trying to get this part here.
I don't think I've gone beyond this part. I don't think I've
Oh, really?
read the part after the
5?
original run. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so basically, Sam and Kyle are still trying to look for Borrasca, and they're not sure what's going on. Um, they try to get information out of what's her name, Mira, and her husband, but that's not really going anywhere. So they try to they go to this what's it called, the Driskin uh, Historical Society, and try to get some more information. Um, I'm trying to remember this part here. Oh, here we are. So they basically are trying to find where the mine that exploded, because I think something happened there. So they get the information from this woman named Catherine, and she basically narrows it down to this one mine in particular. Like I think this is where this is normally supposed to be. Or, I'm sorry, not normally. This is where it all originated. And
She's
so
like,
it's
if
called
it's
the
not in the Jedi archive, then it doesn't exist. And
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
they're like, dang it, old lady. Gosh.
So she points out where it's at on the map, and they're like, okay, we haven't tried this part yet. So they try to go up there. They get rock stars and monsters and trying to fuel up.
That's when this took place, when Rockstar was
Yeah,
king.
yeah. Whatever happened to them, by the way?
They're still around.
Well.
They're not as popular.
That's good. Kyle wants to see if they can steal a gun from Sam's dad, but Sam's like, "There's no freaking way I can get a gun, dude. Like, there's just no way." And Kyle's like, I really think we should get a gun, but they can't. So they pass by the tree house, and they're on the way to Borrasca, or what they assume is Borrasca. Oh, I forgot to mention in that first part, where they're at the treehouse, the highway to hell, mile marker 1. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, that's pretty awesome. So they go deeper and deeper into the woods, and they find like this mine, but they find a sign that, like a big sign that supposedly said Drisking Underground Mine. Now, the letters had rubbed off so much that what was spelt was Skindmin.
Skinned men.
Skindmin.
Oh my
And
God.
Kyle, this is Kyle pointed that way.
The plot thickens.
Yeah. So they get into this massive mining complex that's kind of basically hidden inside the woods, and they see this very green, recently waxed, shiny truck, and kind of like, that is Jimmy Prescott's truck. So what the hell's going on? Him and Kyle search around, and they're like, there's like mattresses and all kinds of like bad clothing, or like soiled clothing, and it's like just smells gross in there. It's also littered with like food, or sorry, eaten food like ramen noodles, MREs, bottles of water, and just a ton of like supplies, and it looks like someone's been just hiding out there, doesn't know what's going on. And unfortunately, that's when they start hearing some not not good noises, I guess you could call that. Um, how do you want to describe that, Jared?
um, someone in distress.
Yeah. Uh, so Kyle and Sam go further and further into the building where they keep hearing this sound going on. I'm going to let you decipher what I mean by that. And then they come into a room where a few dozen women are basically chained up to beds. Some of them are pregnant, I guess is a good way to say it. There's no other way to say it. Some of them are pregnant.
Yeah.
And but they're all basically forced to be there. They're all
Drugged up.
drugged up, chained to the beds. And they see Jimmy Prescott, unfortunately, having his way with one of the girls. And I believe one of them is Kimber. But that's not the only thing that they find there. Sam, unfortunately, finds Whitney tied to the beds, who's also looks to be about 9 months pregnant. They untie Kimber, and Jimmy Prescott's like, "All right, what's going on, guys?" Being all sleazy. He's like, "Well, if you take your friend there, it's fine, but I'm basically going to kill your sister if you leave." And Kyle kind of like tries to attack Jimmy, but unfortunately, former Sheriff Cleary is there.
Did Sam have any trouble recognizing Whitney, even though it's been like 7 years and like
His sister?
Yeah.
I think so. Like he's like kind of like looked at it, and I think he just couldn't believe that was her. And so Sam has like this crisis of what to do, because if he leaves, he's basically going to doom Kimber to die or be, enslaved there. But if he leaves, his sister dies. So Sheriff Cleary comes in, and unfortunately Kyle tries to attack him, and
Oh yeah, I forgot
Sam
about Kyle.
yeah, Kyle is basically almost beaten to death.
Yeah.
Like Sam says that he hears his skull crack after Sheriff Cleary beats him. Turns out, and Jimmy Prescott is also like monologuing like a supervillain here.
Yeah.
He's like he basically tells Sam that the reason why that this right here is a industry of broodmares, I guess, for people.
Don't they explain like since the water was
Yeah,
contaminated?
so that's how it started out. Was what they did was that when they had that explosion and it contaminated the water table. Unfortunately, a lot of the iron ore caused infertility in women. Well, the Prescotts and I believe the McCaseys had the idea to kidnap out-of-town girls and get them pregnant and basically sell the babies to the families inside of Driskin. So that was a thing, but it turned out that okay, here's a monologue from Jimmy. It's like, you wouldn't believe how much money is in the industry. I mean, my dad was a smart man, and he knew we didn't have anything of value to sell, and back then the Prescotts were dirt poor. Out of work miners just like everyone else in town. He first got the idea when he sold my older brother off to pay for the legal fees to fight the city. I mean, some people will pay 5 figures for a newborn. Even back then. And the organizations that buy them, well, they buy in bulk. And we still make a killing off them. And our overhead is very low. So basically they did this out of necessity, and now they're doing it for just pure profit. So Sam and Kimber basically just basically like airlift, not airlift, but they drag Kyle's body back to the truck, and fortunately Jimmy Prescott's keys were still in the car, so Sam steals the truck and rockets down the mountain as fast as they can. They arrive at the hospital, and Sam's freaking out, but unfortunately his dad comes up, and he's like, well, hey, sorry to have to tell you this, but uh, you're basically being charged with attacking Kyle. And he's like, what are you talking about? So apparently his dad is also involved in this. Not sure exactly how much. That gets a lot of this is resolved in chapter 5, but basically his dad is like, hey, guess what, you are now being charged with attempted manslaughter. And yeah, so that happens. Now basically Kimber disappears. She runs away. Sam becomes a drug addict for like years. He goes to Chicago, but he does come home to a letter that is addressed from Kimber, and in it she included the letter that she found from her mother. Now, let's see. Do you want me to read the letter, Jared?
Yeah, but when he goes home, doesn't he see Kyle? When he goes back home, doesn't he see Kyle and like what happened to him?
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, Kyle is in the hospital, and unfortunately, Kyle is basically brain dead. Like, there's no response. He's hooked up all the machines. There's just nothing he can do. He can't defend Sam because there's nothing to defend. He's brain dead.
Poor freaking Kyle.
Yeah, poor Kyle. Let's see here. All right, so here is the letter that Kimber's mother wrote to Kimber. It says, "My Kimber, I know you aren't going to understand why we do the things we did. It was all born out of love. At least it started that way. You're everything to me and will always be my daughter. Do you understand? I'm leaving this world because of what I've done to you, not because of what you are. I don't want you to be upset with what you are, about what you are, because who you are is beautiful. My dearest, this town has done terrible things, and all of us who live here are guilty. Read this letter and leave this place. I need to tell you all of this. I need to start at the beginning. Somewhere along the way, decades ago, the major population of Drisking became unable to bear children. Most people blamed the town for letting the iron ore leak into our water table during the collapse. Pardon me. This is the same water table that provides the town's water today. They were never able to quite fix it, and our toxic exposure causes infertility. The town did and still does suffer greatly from this effect. And the Prescotts, they solved this problem that no one could solve. It was an ugly, crass solution, but most people were happy to look the other way when they were able to raise families again. You see, they took girls, mostly women from other places, and they impregnated them and gave us their babies. And the town came under the care of the Prescotts when they started to sell some of the babies on the side for a profit to rich couples. And the sheriff helped him do this. But an ugly rumor started that they were selling to human traffickers. And the Prescotts had an offer triple the price for girls. And in town, we began to murmur, but we once again turned the other cheek when the city suddenly flooded with money because of how well the traffickers paid. People had well-paying jobs and were proud to call Drisking home. So we said nothing, and those that did were taken to the mountain to the shiny gentlemen. Because of what they do is that there's a place on the mountain where the women are taken. Kimber, drifters, runaways, and if the parents choose it, sometimes the girls in the town are even sold back. They arrange to sell the girls, and they meet them at a tree halfway between our town. Sometimes kids play there now. I think you played there too. The Prescotts and the sheriffs are the ones who impregnate the girls, and the children are named after them. P for the Prescotts and K for the sheriff. And when the women become too sick or old to deliver profitable babies, they are sent through a giant machine that was used to refine ore, and their bodies are crushed, and the blood and skin stripped away, and what remains of them are the stolen children and the dust of their bones. and all that's left of their bodies is the powder that they used to spread over the mountains to hide our crimes. I'm telling you this, Kimber, because you are one of those children. Most of your friends are one of those children, including Kyle, apparently. Please get out of Trisking before your father finds this letter. Run away and never come back, and never speak of it to anyone. The industry has deep roots now, and the traffickers have lofty connections. Don't tell anyone. Keep this letter. Don't look back. I love you. I'm sorry I have to leave you. We all have to answer for our sins, and I'm ready to burn in hell for mine. Love, always and forever, Mom. So that was how 4 ends. All right, Jared, what'd you think?
This was pretty shocking. Like the first time you hear it, it's pretty like, oh my god, because it's like a very like real kind of crime. It's not like
Not horror, not like
it's not supernatural.
Yeah.
It's like something that a corrupt town could do, or something like that. A very corrupt family could actually do.
Yep.
So I was like, oh man, dang. And then the letter, you're like, oh my gosh. You just get a lot of truths, and then you get really disappointed in Sam's dad.
Yeah, no, the ending part with Kyle being basically brain dead at the end, that shocked the hell out of me. I was like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, when he's getting beat by the old sheriff, you're just like, oh my god, poor Kyle.
Yeah, it just doesn't stop. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of a crazy turn that this takes in chapter 4. And now, granted, if you had been paying to the small clues throughout the rest of the stories, everything starts to make sense. So I like how everything really added up to this, and it's a fantastic written chapter. But yeah, that was Borrasca 1 through 4. Jared, what are your initial thoughts on the story as a whole?
As a whole, it's really well written. I think it sets up its world really well. It sets up these kids and their relationship, and just how hard it is to see it get taken away by this town and like the adults in the town.
Yeah.
There's a lot of betrayal going on, especially with that Sam's dad. You're just like, man, what a scummy dude. Because he's an outsider and he came into this willingly, and you're just like, geez.
And it's kind of crazy about Sam's dad is that there are parts in the story where he shows like affection towards Sam, like he tries to be a good dad.
Yeah.
But the more and more you learn about him, you're just like, oh my god, you are a monster.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Jimmy is like cartoonishly evil, which I kind of like. He's just like, he loves what he's doing, and you're just like, man, what a piece of crap.
He does not care. He's like, I like my job.
But yeah, I think it gets. I think it does its job well. It shocks you, and it's just like really just hurts you.
Yeah, I think it's very well written. Like I'm very impressed with how shocked you are. Honestly, at the end of chapter 4, you're just like, wow.
You almost want a movie, but you almost don't, because it's just like,
you
don't want to get to that end. You'd be like, oh.
Yeah. Well, we kind of started that Borrasca audio drama, and like it was well produced, but it didn't hit as hard, really.
The additions really dragged it down.
Yeah.
There's like the part with Sam as an adult going through therapy, and I was like, this isn't needed. And the writing with it was terrible. So I was like, ugh. But if you got like a David Fincher or like a Denis Villeneuve.
David Fincher for this would be awesome.
Or like, who did that one Alex really likes, Prisoners? Was that Denis
Villeneuve?
Yeah,
that's Denis Villeneuve.
If you get that feeling in this, or like that kind
almost like a cold thriller. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like just a hard thriller.
Him or Fincher just team up and like.
I would love Fincher to do this. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So have you read this story before?
I've read 1 through 4, but I heard through like Wendigoon and Papa Meat that there was an add-on or like a story written afterwards. I've never read that.
Yeah, because this happened, and when like she basically just ended it there, which is kind of crazy. But then
I think it's a perfect ending.
it's pretty great. But then chapter 5 came out, and everybody's like, "Wait, what?" And chapter 5 is, I think, longer than all of 1 and 4 put together.
Have you read it?
I have.
Is
'Cause
it
I remember
worth
when,
it?
Okay. I don't want to be too presumptuous in saying I liked the end, uh, because I like the end of 4 so much. 5 does clarify a lot of things and becomes more horrific sometimes. Um, I don't think it's quite as shocking as 1 through 4. It's it it just doesn't hit as hard. I mean, it's still very well written, but it's just not as like,
It's just the facts. It's not.
yeah, it doesn't, because it deals with Sam when he's an adult, and so a lot of things get wrapped up. We'll probably cover that. We'll probably cover chapter 5 later down the road. But do you have anything else to say about Borrasca and 1 through 4?
It's a great story. I do recommend you see like a reading, or like, especially I really like the Papa Meat and Wendigo one, and just like the character they give to Kyle and Sam, just like their exaggeration of them. But yeah, it's a great story. Just a well-written story.
Nice. Yeah, this one, I remember first listening to this when I was working in AV, and we had an overnight set at the airport hotel. Do you remember that one, Jared? And I knew it was going to be like a long set. Started like at 10 p.m. I'm like, oh god,
It's a pain to get to that stupid hotel.
Yeah, like I'm going to be here for like 10 hours overnight. It's going to suck. And so I'm like, I need something to like just try to lighten this day. And I'm like, oh, what's this one? A 3-hour video? Cool. So downloaded it onto my phone, put my headphones on, started working. And I was like, oh my god.
I love this Kyle. I love him.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. So who's your favorite character?
I like Kyle, especially what happens to him. It's so tragic. It's just like, man, he didn't do anything. He's just helping his friends.
Yeah.
And he got like the not the, I guess not the worst, but like it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Got his skull cracked on this concrete. No, I think I like Kyle the most, especially like, okay, I love younger Kyle, especially when Mr. Creepypasta was doing his voice. He's like, oh god, why you do that? Also like in the first part with the treehouse where they're carving their names. Oh yeah, they also carve Parker's name in there too, so it doesn't disappear. Carver apparently carved into the wood "fart," and Kyle goes like, "That's hilarious, Parker." Yeah, no, I love Kyle. Kemper's pretty cool. Sam's kind of a blank slate. He's kind of like meant to represent us, but I think it's done really well to where you feel like you are experiencing everything through his eyes. So he's a very well written character.
Who's the worst character? Sam's dad.
Sam's dad. Straight up Sam's dad.
What a douche.
What a dick. But yeah, I think that's all I got to say about this for now. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah, I think we did a good job on this one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Do you have anything for next time?
I do, unless you do.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. So what we have next is what happens when the stars go out. So we will be listening to that one. So again, thank you all for all the likes. It's been awesome to come back to that. And again, all the thanks go to Jared for that amazing edit that he did for our Embrace of Shadows video. That was awesome to see. Didn't expect him to put that much effort into it. Not that I don't think he's capable of the effort. It's just that was really cool to see. And guys, we are this close to 100 subscribers. And if we do, we get to watch the director's cut of Rebel Moon and watch Michael cry. So
we get to torture Michael.
We get to torture Michael, guys. You have no idea how much that would bring me happiness, is to make Michael cry. So
just a little backstory. Michael doesn't like House, so He needs
doesn't.
this. He needs this.
He needs this. He needs this, like, very much so. So, yeah, that's about all I got, Jared. What about you?
Yeah, I think this
All right.
is all for this time.
Yep. All right. Well, everybody, stay creepy out there, and bye.